This was a classic project. If you ask any programmer, most of them have built a calculator using their programming language because it is such a useful way to learn about logic and learn about programming. So we had to build a calculator in this course. But let's talk about the code. Now, looking at the JavaScript file, with this code review, what I want to talk about is the organization of the code. Now, this is very, very dependent on the project, on the people that you work with, and your personal preference. There's no one right answer. It's never black and white. But I'll give you some of my ideas and opinions based on how the code is structured right here. Now, if I go through the code, I'll see that there's some variables, some constants, some lets that we're declaring. Then we have some functions. We have another constant over here, another function, and at the bottom, we have yet another function, but also some event listeners that we're adding. Now, looking at the code here, one thing that I noticed, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller just so we can see it at a bigger, higher level thing. I like the structure of a JavaScript file to make sense so that when I'm reading a file from top to bottom, I'm starting to build the story of understanding how the code works. So one of the issues that I see here is that we have event listeners that are being added here and being added here, but a function that's being declared right in between them. And then again, we have functions over here and a constant being declared here, but then another function is sandwiched in between. It seems a little bit disorganized and I don't understand what's what. Instead, if I move things around, so let's say I want to keep all the event listeners because those ones just get run once, right? So when we initially load up the file, the event listeners get added. So I want all of those at the bottom. And all my functions, I want them to be declared together so I know what functions are available to me inside of this file. The other thing I want to do is this calculate, which is a variable that we're assigning an object. I want to move that all the way to the top where we have all of our other constants. So let's just add a space because now the way we have it is we grab some items from the DOM, from the HTML page. We then say, hey, we create a calculate object that we're going to use. So right off the bat, as I'm reading this document, I say, okay, we're doing something to the DOM. Okay, we're going to be calculating some things. So we're going to have all these operations that we can use in this file. And I already know what this program is going to do. And then I keep reading and keep developing the story. Oh, okay, so we're going to have some variables that are going to change that we're going to need throughout the program. Okay, that's great. And then, and then here are my functions. So these are all the functions that I can use throughout the code. Okay, and then they're all structured logically. So we have send number value, add decimal, use operator, then reset all. Okay, that makes sense. And then finally, within this event listener, at the very end, so up until now, the JavaScript file has just declared a bunch of functions, a bunch of variables. Nothing has been done other than just saying, hey, just allocate memory here. Just remember these things because we're going to use them later. And then finally, starting on line 71, we add those event listeners with all the functions that we declared and all the variables. I argue that this reads a lot better just by moving some things around, organizing things together, declaring variables at the top, functions at the top, and then keeping the bottom of your files with the actions that we want to perform makes things more organized. So that's the lesson for this video. How can you organize your code in a way that if your friend, your buddy, your family member comes and reads your file, it makes logical sense. They don't have to scroll up and down, bouncing around places. How can they understand what your code does? By reading top to bottom. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.